afternoon. It's Sunday. And I have a really irritating dog doing her usual rotating, leaping on, off, trounce thing. And I went to go and get my drink, because I remember to do that this time, and have a pee, to make sure the time was, sustainable for the maximum length of time. Somebody was upstairs and asleep on the bed. Yes. You. That'd be you. Yes, it would. And we're acting like we've been a bit guilty, to be honest. Aren't you? You are. Little pup. You are. I still can't believe that I've had you 5 years. I know. 5 years and a month. Has it really been 5 years? You don't act like you're 5 years old. No. You haven't got the manners that one should have by this age. You're supposed to be a little bit more... Oh, I've got Hefs. Thank you. Hello, Hefs. How are you? Oh, I was only allowed to give him a brief hug. You are a funny old soul. You are. You are, little one. You are indeed a funny old soul. Hey, Bailey. For some reason, I did not hear that. Hang on a moment. Let me find what happened to the speech tube. That's because it's not running like an arse. So how's Bailey? What's Bailey been up to? Hopefully that's going to work now. Brain. I have a headache. I should warn everybody, I have a headache today. So, my finger feels weird. It's one of the most autistic things you hear me say for a while. My finger feels weird. And I can't quite explain it. Well, it's good for your pocket, hopefully. But I somehow doubt it's as good for your pocket as it should be. I had this week off and I ended up working Monday afternoon. And that's not going to be as good for me as it should be, Considering I saved a multi-million-pound business. Yeah. Fair enough. I shall not be offended if it feels a very long time before you answer anything. But yeah, I understand. So I hope at least your bank balance is feeling better for the antics, even if it's not as better as it should be. You missed yesterday. I've been struggling quite a bit, so hence not streaming so much. Everything feels like an uphill struggle, and trying to reduce adding to the load to make it worse. So I've been welshing on the streams, and I've lost one of my little wooden thingies, my little wooden bobbin holders, not the big ones, the little ones. So I had 8, which was the perfect number for my big motif. Yeah, I can't find one of them. I don't know quite what's happened to it. Now, I do live in a world of chaos, as in I'm not overly tidy, but, well, that's being kind to it. But I couldn't find it, and it's not like it can really go that far, so I'm not quite sure what happened to it. Unless the dogs have stolen it and buried it in the garden, but then that doesn't seem quite right either. So I was going to spend this morning looking for it, but I forgot until now. So I haven't looked for it. I just don't believe it can be that far away. It's got to be like tucked down the back of the couch or something. You know, that kind of it's around but not visible kind of moment. Rather than it is actually missing, if you know what I mean. Oops. So let me. It's not particularly the best view in the world. Why is nothing ever as simple as putting it back where it was? Shuffle over a bit. I'm sure it really can't be that far away. I'm quickly looking down the side of the couch where there's a mouse. Not a mouse, a computer mouse. No. Not obvious. So, this is where we're at. What are we going to do today? Well, I think we could work a little bit more down this bit. We can add one more row to you. Means I need you to make you a bit longer. And to tie you up, even though my patience already feels thin with having to re-loop bobbins that are making a run for it. Because we did far too much of that last time. Right. So, we need to. You're not straight. The table's not level. Let me get that. Do that. Pin. Over here. Out the way. Yes, I do apologise for not streaming so much, Bailey. It's just been a bit much. This finger feels weird. Now there's a scar through this finger. You can't really see it. Let's press it. You might be able to make out if you look. There's a very faint line, and if I do that, you can kind of occasionally just see it. This was when I had Maddie. We were out in the garden playing with a ball, and I didn't realise she'd burst the tennis ball. And I went to take the ball out of her mouth like this. Well, obviously, like this. And she chomped on it as I went to take it. Now, normally, tennis ball has got enough resist that that's not a problem. Well, when she's burst it, it don't do that. And she bit. Now, obviously, she didn't mean to. But she caught this finger just here and my thumb, and the thumb bled like a stuffed pig out the tiniest hole. I mean, if I jabbed it with a pin, the pinhole would be bigger, right? But what happened was this crushed the finger and it split all the flesh all the way through to the other side. It just ripped it clean apart inside, but didn't break the skin. Which was kind of good, because, you know, exploded finger would be pretty gross. But what it did mean is that obviously inside there is a lot of scar. But on the outside, not so much. And, well, again, it falls into the not ideal kind of category, because it feels like there's something up with it, but I don't know quite how to explain it. But it does feel like there's something up with the scar on the inside. Almost like there's a bit of an infection or sunburn or something like that going on. So it's angry on the inside, but you look at your finger and it's just a finger. You know, it's... So my finger feels weird. I was trying to do something useful earlier with my code on my program, and I kind of got somewhere, but kind of didn't, all at the same magical time, which is kind of standard for how coding works, to be honest. For each thing you make a step forward on, you realise there's 6 more steps you need to make. And I was just watching a video, which is why I'm a bit later than usual, on a subject that sounded useful, and I think it is. But with the video that I saw, it didn't answer enough of my question as to whether it was the answer or not. So, you will possibly have heard of a thing called GitHub, right? And GitHub is basically where we coders hive all of our code off to protect it. So that when you do dumb shit, you can recover back to a time when you've done less dumb shit. Now, this can have win some, lose some moments on the ground that you can go back to a time when you hadn't screwed something up, but you also you've now got to refix things. Now, there are sort of ways of reverting one file but not all files. There are ways of, you know, but it's generally not done on a file by file basis, which kind of makes it a bit annoying, to be honest, because what would be useful is to do the, well, I want these changes from this file, and I want everything bar this file. Now, you can kind of do that if you haven't committed, right? So when you commit, you save it to the website kind of thing, and it is kind of, like a published book, right? But what you can do is, when it's not yet kind of committed and it's still in progress, is you can revert one file, many files, whatever, and that kind of works really well. So it's a really, really useful thing to do. But what it doesn't seem to handle is, let's say, I know you're writing a finance system, not very relevant for games, but let's do it with games. So you've got a core game, and you've got like scenes and fairly, and all the common stuff. So, I don't know, access to the character and what generally is the character and what generally is a particular mod type. But then you might have a bunch of actions that they can do. Well, those actions you might be working on, but at the same time, if you have classes, so if you think of, like, say, Path of Exile, they have a character, and one character, rogue, druid, whatever, they'll be working on, say, druid. Now, you don't want the druid code to F up everybody else, so chances are it's separate, but it's also part of the whole. Now, you can make a folder called Druid and a folder called Fighter and a folder called Rogue or Caster or whatever. But then there's duplicate code because, well, it's kind of the same. So you have like these, you have base classes and then you generally inherit from those and add functionality. But what happens with Git is if you realise, say, I don't know, you've been making melee classes to date, so you've got like the huntress, the the warrior, and then suddenly you decide to add a caster. Well, now you need mana, so you need to make an update to that base class. That's fine, because it doesn't really contradict. But if you've got a guy who's working on, say, rogue, you don't really want his work interrupted and effed up a bit if someone introduces new fields and stuff to his class. So, but again, you don't really want to duplicate it all. And it just kind of having, so if we call them modules, whatever they are, whether they're spells, gear, although that's usually more database driven, but the ability to have quests, whatever, right? You want to be able to work on them pretty independently from the core game, but you need the core game to run it. So should there be updates in the game, you want that reflected so that you can check that your shit still works. But you kind of, you want like a read-only copy of that here, and then the ability for the things. That kind of moment, you want different chunks. So I can check, if I'm working on a caster, I only want to check in changes to my caster area. I don't really, if I accidentally change something else, don't necessarily want that in there. I might have added it for debugging and it's not for general consumption. And there are a thing called workflows, and these might be the answer, because it is a way of branching your repo. So branches work a bit like you might think. Here's your core thing, and you go off here having an experiment. If it works, you merge it back in. If it doesn't work, you chop it off, you abandon it, and, well, that's the end of that. Now, but if you have a team of people, you don't have one dude like me sitting around doing it. You have multiple dudes. Well, they each want to work on their own shit. And then, of course, is when it starts getting complicated. So if I worked on mine and you worked on yours and someone else worked on this, and we all went to merge our shit at the end, there is highly likely to be an issue. Now, in general terms, again, if you kept your shit in a folder, say, called Fighter, and I had one in Caster, and they're working on, I don't know, quests, there is a good chance that we won't accidentally all try and work on the same thing. But what if we did? And this is kind of the longest debate that most programmers have with their code, is they want to do something, they need to do something. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when it comes to the merge, there is a conflict, because you've all edited a file in a slightly different way, because you've edited this bit here and that bit there, and what should it do to resolve that? And merge conflicts are perfectly normal, but if you're, if I'm working on, my caster and you're working on some quests, well, what if both of us are right? Because mine works for me, yours works for you, but there is no way to join the two together easily to produce an answer. So workflows do seem to be a little bit of, oh, fuck you, Bob, of how to do that, in that they allow you to work on multiple chunks of the same thing. That's right, this is, I've lost my track because I had to do the bobbin thing. But at the same time, because they go into different folders, not just well, you can make it a subfolder of where you're at, but that's one too many, idiot. If not a few too many, actually. Hang on, 1, 2, 3, yeah. There we go. So it feels like it could be the right thing, because you could do, you know, have your caster and your thing and your, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't feel right either. And this video was doing a good job of explaining it, but because I've got this very specific level of question, and of course you can't ask a video question, you know, I can't do the, if I'm working on generating test cases for my game, how can I, in my GitHub, have that independent of actual working on the game? Because, you know, if you ask AI that, I mean, to give you an idea, I talked the other day about having a conversation with AI, and it ran simulations for me. Well, I got it to write some code and put the simulation in so that I could run it myself. Well, that was a pile of horse shit. We spent many hours at 5 o'clock in the morning asking, you know, debating how to cap and not cap, and to, you know, force there to always be a bit of a chance to miss, and yeah, so, well, my hero wins 100% of the time. Well, it's not much of a fucking challenge then, is it? I mean, other than standing there and not hitting fight, how are you going to lose? And this kind of, you know, and this was generally my problem. So I wanted it to produce, you know, using the current code, run some analysis, and fake some fights, and, you know, basically speed run through the fight. So if it says wait for an animation, don't wait for it to regen, just, you know, calculate how long that would have taken, you know, all of those kind of, you know, don't actually wait for it to happen moments. If there's an animation, you know, don't wait for that, all of those things. So it wrote its own code and completely ignored all the code that I had, and then told me my simulation was shit. Seriously, it actually said to me, your simulation has a bug in it, and I'm like, you fucking wrote it. Don't you be blaming that shit on me. You wrote this entire shit. I didn't even, all I did was say, yes, you can put this in a file. I didn't do nothing else. I just agreed to it. You wrote this shit. So, you know, again, my usual stance, that AI is a wondrous thing as long as you don't know. You can have great generic discussions with it, and I did have some great generic discussions on how to do a couple of things, and, you know, what could I maybe do to improve this, that and the other, but, you know, you sit there and you'll give it a prompt as, so you've opened all the files in your project, and you go, you've got access to all the files in my project. Basically, write a test case or a code simulator that will fake running the fight between player and each of the mob types that I've listed in this file. Give me as much statistics about those fights as you can dream of. So it kind of goes, you won 100%. Well, that's not all the stats, is it? And it kind of goes, well, no. And so you go, right, well, I want to know how long was the average fight? What was the maximum fight? You know, how long would it take a player if constantly fighting till you get to a certain level? What are their skill caps? Oh, well, you know, strength would have capped. Well, we don't change strength. Where the fuck did you dream that from? And you know, you have these moments, and it really is kind of, it's like having a co-worker who's keen but not actually paying attention to what's happening. So I've got a dangly bit of thread that's annoying me. Unfortunately, it's on a bit of me I can't really reach, so bear with me. And so you set them off to go and do A, and they come back with B, and it's kind of B with a hint of A, but not all of A, and, well, they did what they wanted, not what you wanted, even though you were really quite annoyingly specific, you know. I will say that AI does work well with autism, because, of course, you are anally specific because that's how you think. But of course, if it does something of its own volition that makes no sense from the prompt that you gave it, and you start arguing with it, you are arguing against a brick wall. So to give you an idea, I've closed it. But if I open this, is it going to remember where I was at? No. Actually, it might. Hang on. Yes, it does. Okay. So I have quite a long screen full of argument with it, where it's shown me code, but actually some of the code was just bollocks. And it is quite annoying because for some reason page up doesn't work. So let me go back a bit. I need to go back a bit more. Problem is it keeps giving me quite a lot of code, and half of it's shite. So here we go. Here's one of the big arguments I had. So scroll. There was a lot of code. So I need to go back a bit more. And I'm scrolling, and for some reason I'm managing to move the mouse so it's coming off the window, not scrolling the one I want. Hang on. Okay. So I wrote, okay, you have access to all the files in the project. Explain to me why the player won 100% of the time. Did the agility and defense of the opponent not get taken into account? What is wrong with my code to make this happen? How do I make it so that there is a chance of losing when I ask for more stats? I meant more. I want discernible stats, time per level, average hit miss per fight, time to cap combat level, combat stats per level, min times, max times, etc. It wrote back, the player was winning 100% of the time because of 3 bugs in your simulation. Bear in mind, all I ever did was put the code in, it told me. Attack according to bias. When both act at the same tick, the code processed the player attack first and immediately broke out if the mob died, preventing simultaneous retaliation. This guarantees the player never died on ticks. No, that's not true, but there we go. Hit AC logic inverted. Did hit sim versus target equals 10 minus target AC plus blah de blah. So higher AC made the target easier to hit instead of harder. Oh, you wrote it. Mitigation ignored for non-crits. Applied damage to target overwrote mitigation of non-crits, so defense was not applied normally. I have fixed those, it says. And expanded the statistics to collect a few more things. DPS, rounds, distribution, and all this kind of stuff. Please add the following fucking War and Peace amount of code that I have provided. So it provided level 2. And I wrote, by the way, do not refer to it as my battle simulator. You wrote it. So it did correct its English, but then of course it repeated absolutely everything. So rather than just going, sorry, I won't do that again, it repeated everything, but without the word my, you know, your, or whatever. I said, you generated stats of time to cap for strength is 18 minutes 46 seconds. Time to cap for agility is 37 minutes and 32 seconds. However, these stats have not changed. It's attack / pierce, defense, etc. that changed. So how are you finding strength changes? Where has that come from? Why did you not see the actual stat changes? Did you take these into account? And why is the player still winning 100%? And it wrote back, strength came from sim character reads my SO stands for scriptable object, but it's a very Unity thing. So FO, strength and agility. The time to reduce cap nodes assumed those are stats that changed by level. You've got access to the code, arsehole. Didn't you read it? Your real games appears to level different stats. The simulator did not extract those or use those fields for the time to cap calculation. Why aren't you just using the code that's already there, arsehole? Why are you even, you know, you've sat there and written a veritable ream of code, and none of them call the actual functions. Why did you rewrite everything? Fix. Extract scriptable stats from your stats entry. And then add estimates time scraps to do that. Right, okay, fine. So it then gave me a shitload more code. And I wrote, so you're not using the logic from the rest of the code. And it wrote back, the simulator currently approximates game logic. It reads some fields via reflection and uses its own hit damage formulas. It's not really testing mine then, is it? That's a bit like me going, hey, can you go and check the light on the porch is working? And you doing your own. Well, it's not going to tell me if mine's not working, is it? So, this is the kind of argument I end up having with AI, because it goes off and it's like, but the original instruction was using the game code logic for which you have access to, go and pull together a way to simulate a number of battles so that we can test and tune and it's just kind of, which is really annoying because when we were discussing this at 5 o'clock in the morning, it really had got it down to you would not always win, and that, you know, as the stats, as you got better at slashing and piercing or whatever, that you did indeed get better and that, you know, you did hit more and it checked all of this and it's kind of gone off on one. Hence, it would be nice if I could separate these out from the actual game stuff so that I can work on additional tests, and if the tests aren't in a usable function, because this is the other problem with Unity, is even if you write test cases, if the tests won't compile, even though they're not technically part of the game, it won't run the game. If you've got one typo in there, it won't run the game. And it gets a little bit annoying. What's the matter, Rory? Rory's looking sad. Hey, Evie, how you doing? Hey, EP, you know I got my hide shit to stop the lights issue working. This means a lot to EP and nothing to pretty much anybody else. Well, I've been productive this week. Now, I didn't mean to be, and I shouldn't have been, and well, I've now got abilities, as in swording, attacking, defense, piercing, etc. Right? And that you get better as them as you fight on. And what you walked in on probably was me moaning that when I told AI to help me write a simulator to run test battles to help tune it, it made a fucking dog's dinner of it, made up its own shit, didn't use any of my code, and then bleated that my code was shit when it was all its code, and so I gave it a mouthful. So that's what I was doing. But Gitamen just dropped a video on using workflows with Git, because funnily enough, he is a Git guru with a name like Gitamen. You won't be too surprised. And I'm... One of the things, now you might know the answer to this, I mean, you're not a stupid bloke. If you've got like a game project and you are working on kind of a sub project within it, such as test cases, Is there any way in GitHub and Unity to ignore, well, Unity probably not so much, because you could just use conditional compiles really, but to have almost like sub branches of, or sub projects for your project, so that you have no, this is more a case of like me working on my test cases, irrelevant of where the game got to, I want to just check in the tests or the editor scripts that I've made to go with it, because I've been busy. I have been so busy, my man. Let me show you. So ignore the fact that this is full of errors, but I have made, where's my tool? I now have a Git manager for some favourite Git things to install, and if you add a new one, so let's say I go off and install one, if it's not in this list, it'll ask me if I want to add it to this. So there's an asset behind this, so you can drop the file and the asset in, and it will just load all this list up. So I thought that was rather useful, so that's what I did with that, because I haven't had a text file with it all in, and it was like, there must be an easier way of doing that, so I did that. But, for example, I've got this simulator, which is what this is trying to do, but it's a pile of shit, as I was explaining. So it doesn't run in run mode. Now I do have some test cases. I have gone back to doing this, so that if I go to play mode, and it does do this occasionally, and I don't know why, because there is a test offense. Yeah, now, annoyingly, see, that says generate a new test script in the active path. Well, there is one, it's called that. And it does sometimes work, because it's not a play one. But for some reason, play mode kind of just stops, and you can't force it to scan it. But it's not because of that, because there are no actual errors in the console, so it's not that. Doesn't give me any reason why not, other than, hang on, scripts can be loaded into the NUnit frame, or hang on, no tests to show. Targeting framework runner, bloody blah. So why then, when I do this, is this a test? This is me fighting with AI and calling it a wanker. So let's put that over there. But there's loads of tests in here, and they were all running yesterday, earlier. But every so often, it just kind of fucks off. This is one of the things I really, really hate. Hate about Unity sometimes is that there's no obvious reason. Yeah. Well, annoyingly, this was working really, 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 really well. And it does this, and it just pisses me off. Just paste the code in once you've made it. You haven't answered the question. Hang on, let's go back up here. Problem is you also don't get to go back to... You can't click to... Exactly. So let's see. Test enhanced player. Well, yeah. So I've got a feeling if I do that, it'll break shit. Well, yeah. It's probably going to break loads of shit now. So, well, that didn't fucking help. And there was a reason why I set it to be a descendant of player. Do not make the test class the playing class yet. Give each test a unique name, which I have. Everything's got a unique name. Prefix version for player test below. Fix duplicate names. Why don't you just tell me what was a duplicate name? Okay, don't remember having any duplicate names. I thought they were all... Player regenerates health when not attacking, player themselves when attacking. Oh no, this is... There you go, there is a potential extra one down here. That's why. Let me zap. That's because I was going to do something with it, that's why. Right, let's come out of that. Oh, fuck you. I know this worked when you were part of player, even though it doesn't need to be part of player. Also noticed it says IL code, not actually kind of unitied, if you know what I mean. Player does, you know, player. No, there is definitely only one of each, that's fine. Just literally, this was working, and I had so many problems getting it working. Problem is it doesn't give me any obvious reason why not. I wanted to show you this because it was actually doing all right. That's not it. Let me go comment this out. Hang on. Is that what's offending it? It's the only thing I now remember changing today. No test show. Yes. Check the project manifest to ensure the test configuration is identified. The test not showing to verify the is clicked running. If you're running a test run, ensure it's up to date compatible. Well, it was working an hour ago, or a couple of hours ago. Well, there is one answer to this. Let's have a quick look at this. They look right. Define constant is not... I don't know, I can't fucking read it because it disappears under me pissing mouse cursor. What does he say? Is not met, I think. I don't know. Is not... It says... I'm sure it's not met. Well, you're supposed to be defining it. Why are you saying it's not met? What is not met? Define consent is not... I'm sure that's not met. Well, I'm normally quite good at it, but if you can't even be fucked to tell you the actual error, I'm really not in the mood. That is in Unity. Define is not met in Unity test. Supervised with a different... Does not meet refine or define twice. It doesn't meet because it's not met. Well, fucking duh! That doesn't tell me anything. Well, it says Unity encoded is test case. Why is it not liking test case? Because the reason I ask is because, for example, my inability to have an alphabet is amazing. Somewhere in here, there are there you go. If it's test case, then declare it as internal. If it's not, declare it as private. But what is the point of declaring define this if you're not going to fucking define it? See, it's not letting me define it, and I don't know why. Because it worked before. That's why it was there. That's why I used it. It feels like I've woken up at 3 a.m. because it's been pissing me off for the last, 4 weeks. And my brain's suddenly gone, oh, well, have you tried this? Fuck you, kind of moment. Somewhere in here. I'm typing in the pissing box, computer. You can fuck off and all. It does. Now, of course, now it's not seeing attacking. See, this was working. All of this shit was working. And it doesn't help that there is 2 dogs sitting in my chair, so I can't sit comfortably. And I've kind of got a trapped nerve or something. That means if my arm's a bit too far forward, it really pulls on my neck. So this player, where's player, go. Oh, I can't find the definition. Well, you're a cunt then. You should be able to. Player does not have a definition for attacking. Well, it fucking does. That's why you are defined from player. Now it's loaded it properly. And now it's got errors. Let's see what it actually says. Private, attacking. Well, find attacking. Well, that's why. So, let's put, grab this. See, why didn't it just say that? See, now it's got a whole big... Place internal, auto attack. Wherever the fuck my test things have gone there now. You can't do that. Well, you can. Get or accept. Just open the pissing file. It's not that hard. And you can fuck off and all. What's this then? Did I copy more than I meant? Because this is one of the things that I do suffer from with this, is that occasionally you go to edit a file and it cheats and it kind of fucks up for you. It's a method group. What? Attacking isn't a method group. Isn't a method group at all, you stupid donut computer. It was missing a semicolon. Christ's sake. Now they list. Right. So, finally, now, a couple of them don't entirely work. Some of them do. But, if I hit go, it'll go off and it will load the scene and do various things, such as walk to the door. Yeah, it looks at the floor, don't ask. finds the key, moves around a bit, has a bit of a fight. There's my stats going in yellow. Jesus Christ, getting them to come up in yellow was more painful than you thought. And there you go. And finally an error, but we'll ignore the error for a minute. And there we go. That's it. It's run all my tests. So it didn't get the key on that occasion because it was under the table and it moved on top of the table and the table was blocking it. But normally it does work. So if I run it again, for example, if I run that one again, it'll go off, and as long as the key's somewhere else, it'll probably work. No, it's exactly the same fucking place. Typical. Do it again then. Yeah, that's because the fucking thing died. Stop putting it in the same place then. Considering that it is random and it doesn't normally do this. It's going to do it again, isn't it? No, there you go. It'll work its way around. There you go. And then it'll look at the key and it should pick it up. There you go. And then on that one. Yeah. So I've got a few things to work it in, but I've got, you know, various moves and picks up keys. The only one that doesn't work is the table. Typical. It is a bit crude in how it moves. So for the test cases, you know, instead of waking up kind of here, wherever here is, round about here, instead of waking up and moving forward and going, look, there's the key, it looks at where the key is. I wish there was a way to move up without having to look down and then move backwards. And now I'm upside down. There we go. But instead of going, oh, you can click on that, it doesn't. It walks forwards, ends up on the table, looks down, and it ends up on the table because otherwise it can't get out the stairs at the other end for some reason, even though the stairs are about half the height of that. So if I run over here and show you the stairs, that way a bit, that way a bit, that way a bit. It's around here somewhere. Where are the fucking stairs? For some reason, even though these stairs are not actually that steep, it can't go up these stairs without setting it so high that you can walk on tables. There's just something to be worked on later, which is why I want to get these scripts working so that I can, you know, tell it to go upstairs and check that it can walk upstairs, to tell it to, you know, but I also want to include some battle statistics in here so that I fake some battles and, you know, out of 100 things, did player die more than once? Yes, that's good. Did the mob lose more than once? Yes. Then there was a mixture of win and fail, because currently that does not happen. And I can't show you because, well, the code's currently fucked. Because, well, it's not runtime, so it hasn't got actual game objects, so it hasn't got a game manager and a player manager and which it's using. So, and of course, it does slightly explain why it wasn't working, but at the same time, you could have tried harder. I've got an itchy back again. I've got a lot of dry skin on my back at the moment. It makes it itch a lot. And of course, it's really hard to apply any form of lotion to your own back because, well, you can't without looking like some form of geriatric ape with an issue, because, you know, you can only just about reach bits of your own back. So the only thing you can do is put some lotion on a tile in your bathroom and kind of rub, which is really not the best answer to that. But I want to try and build some, you know, a bit more fight into it to prove that somebody wins or loses. At the moment, it just takes a swing and checks that you're not regenerating. It doesn't check who wins or loses. But I do have code in there, and I've done all of this before, and this is the slightly annoying part, is I've got all this working before, and I don't know why I removed it. I don't know why I removed it from my code, but I removed it. I think because you have to set lots of things to be internal to run test codes on them, because you've got to put the test codes in a different folder because, well, Unity, and then if you do put them in a different folder, and you've got you've got a few other things, well, it can't now see it, so because it can't see private things, and so you have to mark them as shared. But then I don't really want them as shared because then anything can share them. Because you can't share, unlike C++, you can't share between Class A and Class B. You can only share between everything that's related to me or nothing. But I do want to do some form of mock setup so that it kind of does shit. As you say, it does kind of complain about some of it. So, animator has been destroyed, but you're trying to access it. It would be helpful if you said where, wouldn't it? I've got a feeling. Which one am I in? We're in. Regenerate health when attacking. Oh, when attacking or not attacking? Player does not regenerate. Why are you running that then? Before you ask what am I talking about, if you read the error, it says here it's running loads of the CY sharp stuff. I haven't called any of that in here. Player do regen. Dot. Yeah. Player do regen. For fuck's sake. So I don't see how any of that has got anything to do with threading. Dear God, animals. It's like living next to kind of industrial waste units. Grumble, grumble, fart, fart, moan, moan, whine, whine, scratch, scratch, lick, lick. You can't ever have silence. Now, as an autistic person, I can tell you one thing I don't like is silence. However, when I want silence, I actually want silence. And there is nothing worse than when you hear an odd noise and you're trying to listen to it, and all you can hear is as the tail's going. So it's a bit like a beatbox. How am I supposed to hear over that? And then you get like the pity paws going with their paws, and then you end up with like slurp slurp, crunch crunch, rattling her ears, and you kind of go, Jesus Christ, it's louder than Wembley Stadium in here, and I'm trying to listen for a small noise that I thought I heard that clearly you did not. So I don't see why. Don't see why you. Where are we using it? See, that makes sense that they're in there. Because you do yield returns. I do hate the fact that when you're trying to flip between two files, it doesn't put them next to each other. You've got to remember which one it was you were looking at. Oh, fuck off then. Close everything. See, that doesn't make any sense. So that works, that's fine. That works, that's fine. That works. But not the do regen, which is just basically take damage and don't react to it. I mean, how can you not fucking manage that? I do wonder if some of these errors are actually spurious in that this is not actually related to this. Can cast or strike? So actually, running it back can cast or strike. Even though it's not actually told to run the auto attack. Okay. I think do that. Still didn't work, but it did. What? Player does not regenerate health when attacking. Expected 96 and got 98. Oh, hang on. I pull it the wrong way around there. That's the bottom one. Are equal. Is that or not equal? Oh, for fuck's sake. This is the only thing I find frustrating about a lot of these. Hey, I'm going to help you bits of auto completion-y shit. Is it you're typing something and it goes, oh, you must mean this, and you go, no, let me finish, and it's going, but you mean this? No, just I'm fucking typing it. Stop adding shit. So that's right. This one is does regenerate when not doing so. Current. Think about this. Get the character, you do some damage, you need to wait for a bit. 5 seconds is possibly a bit long, so we'll go with 2. And that's fine, we'll do that. we need to kind of kill off the mob, actually. But that one's while it's attacking, so that's fine. I just want to check that health has gone down, basically. This one, when not attacking, is we need to kill target. So target dot take damage. And then when you do want it to do something, it does weirdy shit on it. Take damage. And I'll do, you know, kill it off. Right. We need to do a bit of a wait. What happened to the weight I put in on this one? For fuck's sake. So that starts a fight, but I'm not fighting back. Interestingly, I'm sure I was supposed to fight back in that one, but there we go. I'm not fighting, it's smacking me. I'm going to wait for a bit. Actually, we don't need a mob for that. What are we doing? We don't need a mob. Don't need to bring that in at all. Take some damage. Tell it to do the regen. We don't need to wait, and we shouldn't be. Wait for a little bit, and then say, let's wait for 10. Hang on, if you do 2 a second, let's take 2 off, just because. Let's just take 1 off actually, and then wait for 2 seconds, and then you should be equal. There. So, even though it was working before, somehow. So, that'll be my post box. That failed. Equals should not be used for assertions. What? Oh. Or equal, fuck you. Hate shit like this. Let's see what was in the post box. Shit. Spam mail was the answer to that. General waste of tree. Not that I'm the world's greenest eco-friendly kind of person, after all. But, dude, stop wasting your teams and posting it through my letterbox. Hello, Rory. Yes, you come up through the smallest hole imaginable. Here we go. Let's see what this does. So, did we lose some health? Don't know if we did. Expected 98, but got 1. What? What's the regen? I don't know, I can't tell. Let me... take damage, let's go with 3, give it a bit more of... Oh, we've got a bit more, let's go with 30. We'll go with 30 to recover. Not recompiling. Why are you not recompiling? You usually do. You're not moving. So I can see you're not redoing regen. I know why. I only tell it's regen once, don't I? That'll be why. It's not how I call regen normally. So that's why that failed. So, where do I... this is again, it's going to sound really bad, but when I'm looking at something like this, because they're so repetitive and they all look roughly the same, why can't you remember where I was in the file and take me back there? You were only there moments ago, you know? So... why would... No, you should be not equal. Because when you've taken the damage, it should change after its regen. Not... It shouldn't. Okay, let's try that. It's going to bath now, no doubt. Yep, it bathed. That didn't have a 30 thing weight. Value cannot be null. What? Oh, self. See, it's taken me to the top of the file, not where I was, which is just fucking irritating. Again. See, now you're recompiling. Now I feel like you changed something. And it's regenning. Well, it did at least once. Yeah, it's regenning. Might not regen fully in that time, but it is regenning. That's always a good start. And that should work. It did, yay! But what we can do is, because where's the fucking thing I was working on? Time 0.01 and repeat rate 0.01. The reason I say do that, and then we can put it down to like 5, is this should compress the whole regen thing, because obviously don't really want it to wait actual hours. I mean, if you had spawn of an hour, you don't actually want to wait an hour for it. You want to kind of, you know, pretend it would have waited an hour and check that it does actually happen. So there you go. So that worked. Generate when display does not generate attacking should also now work, surely. I saw it regen. So that probably failed. It passed, holy shit. Player stops auto attack when target is null, failed. Types of, oh, that's the animator has been destroyed, shit. The script should check if it's null. Fuck you. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. But what I want to do is to work on some of this rather than having, because see, you can do it where you have a ton of individual tests, i.e. each one of these tests is in an individual file. But that just gets boring to make, because, and I mean that genuinely, because if you do it in one file, if you do it in lots of different files, if you've got a setup thing like I have at the top here, I don't in this one, I do in the other one. If you have a setup scenario where it does something, well, you've got to put it in the top of every single file. There's no, you know, include kind of this file kind of thing. I'm sure you could do some call this method, but it just kind of gets a bit much. But yeah, I've actually had to change quite a bit of code to make it work with tests, because obviously normally you have people pressing keys and you have to mock the thing of keys, but of course to mock the thing of keys, there isn't an option. Now under normal programming you can mock, there's a thing that you can get to substitute the keyboard for a mock keyboard, but in Unity they don't have that. So if I show you my other test, which is the general test, if I do does player move forward, so all I can really do is go get the controller and tell it to move forward. Now there is a way, or there are ways of faking key tests, I think. Or have I not got that far? So yeah, I have kind of. So I've set my input, and I set my input mouse position to tell it that this is where the mouse is, so it can move the mouse around. But it is very clunky, whereas normally you can replace classes with a fake class that, instead of waiting for users to poll keyboards, you can basically write a script that tells it that it happened or whatever, and just set a value saying, you know, this key was pressed. Oh, I've got yours ready. But Unity doesn't allow that. It's not Unity compatible because, well, yeah. So this is what I've been doing, and as you can tell, you go to do something, you kind of think you're doing good, you kind of, you know, sorted it all out, and so I'm looking at that and wondering what the fuck those two lines do. What did they get used in? I'm trying to see anything. They look completely irrelevant. This is the problem when you try and recover code that you used before. I mean, it checks that you can unlock doors, and I know it works, but that's where my latest CN attribute came from. I wonder where that was. Oh, it is just, but this is where I've been at. This is the kind of thing that I've been working on, and it's just hard work, and because it's harder work than it should be for no freaking reason other than it can, my brain has been somewhat because as EP will happily vouch for, I have somewhat lost my game writing mojo. Now, inside my head, there is still a few brain cells going. No, and that's the problem is again, much like my general disposition of everything feels like an uphill battle, when doing even simple shit is a fight. There's only so much fight you're in the mood for. It's a bit like, I'm sure, having children or whatever, right? Is that you get out of bed in the morning and you're like, yay, I had a good night's sleep. Let's go and do the day. Well, if by the time you've had a bath, you've had to have a fight because they've used all the cold water and you know, someone's shit in the soap or something, you know, and by the time you've sorted all of that out and you've got dressed to discover that, you know, one of the kids threw bright red pants in with everything and now all your shirts are pink, you know, and then you go downstairs and they've drunk the last of the milk and, you know, you know, you're just having a shit day and you've barely got out of bed. It's you're not in the mood for anything else. You haven't even been to work yet, and it kind of feels like that. Is that if you have, you know, there. It's like there's a quota of things that can go wrong quota, and big things take more than one counter, and small things take one off the counter. And if before you've even really got out of bed, you've used up your counter, then, you know, fighting unity over something really small is just not in your willpower. Fighting bobbins that come undone is not in your willpower. You know, playing squinty with little knots isn't in your willpower. And you just want to sit there and kind of stare at the walls a bit, really. So this is kind of where I'm at, is that my things that can go wrong counter is pretty small. And then I'm out. And then my brain's just, I can't deal with more. I just need to not. And so I've been struggling really hard, but there are some brain cells that are still sitting in there going, oh, but I could do this. I want to make one of those. I could do this. And it's kind of like, just someone take them out back and shoot them. I am not in the mood because I haven't done half the things that my brain has been banging on at me about for years. I mean, that whole abilities thing. So let me actually show you the abilities thing in progress, right? So if we ignore all of that now and hit go. Just full screen this shit. Maximize this. Make it a bit bigger. There you go. So, because you can just click on it, grab your light, go out here, open the door. What you can't see, and if I actually unmaximise this a sec, hang on, unmaximise this, if I show the level and the statics, EP will be proud of me because I have hidden all of the rooms that basically are not in place. So I'm in the guard room, and it's including these rooms because obviously the door's open, but it is now literally turned off all the other rooms in the place, and that includes the lights within it, which is why although obviously it always worked in desktop, it didn't work in web. When you go to the spot, and EP knows the spot, you no longer get light leaks because, well, it's turned off now. Anyway, let's go around here and you will see that I fight my magic skeleton. Actually, mine did actually translate it. I was going to say I use TTS and yeah, I can't tell you what it said, but it said something in maths, so it did actually read that out. But I use SpeakerBot, and mine converted Yeah, mine actually converted it to. Well, it read out the Japanese. Actually, read out the Japanese as if it was just a perfectly another day in England. It was just another word. I mean, it doesn't tell me what it means, but it did read it out. And of course, being Japanese, it said it 1,000 miles an hour, which is why all I can tell you is it said something a mass, because I did hear the mass at the end. It kind of went, what did you mean, mass? Yeah, I have no idea what you actually said. I don't speak Japanese at a rate of knots. I can just about manage a few karate moves, you know. But mine did actually read that out, so you might want to look into Speakerbot. Because you can have it say it to stream. So, but here we go. So we have but and I can't show you now. Hang on, well, Speakerbot's free as well, so but I wanted to show you this because obviously the yellow text are the skill ups, so if you just don't get to see many of them. But if I fight, you'll see skill ups. So Pierce has changed one. Well, I've given it Google, so I've got about 6,000. Oh, very. It sounds humanish enough. But as you can see, it's taken a bit of a while because they've now got a bit more health. We've got XP on it. Let's dodge around this dude because I can't be asked to fight him. But yank round the corner. If you stand here, yeah, it has to be. I mean, that thing that you showed me, that is so insanely cool. And I do have great plans for that. I will point out, I do indeed have great plans for that. In fact, did I not put that in something? Hang on. Did I not put some of it in this? You'll soon discover that for a girl who is not really doing anything, I still have far too many I'm in the middle ofs than is healthy. Did I not put something in this? Hang on. Did I not do something in this? No, that's the short answer. I could have sworn I made files for that. Well, what I intended to do with this was, she says, trying to remember how the fuck she runs it. Hang on. And exactly where I hid it. The day I learned. Didn't I make a run or something? Oh, batch file or... That's not it. The problem with all of this stuff is it always relies on you remembering what the fuck you had to do to get in it. It wasn't that bad, but it was bad enough, if that makes sense. You had to get into Python and do something. Exactly. Each time you get back to it, you have to kind of do it again. Yeah, I did, and I had it all set up. Don't remember it being... Well, you've got to run something before you can open browser. Okay, there it is. Whatever UV is, I've completely forgotten what UV is. Are you doing it? You just being a shit? I mean... You haven't run it yet then. Well, why not? So, I did have an audio thing here. Now, mine runs fairly quick. Yeah, mine doesn't take so long. I mean, for example, if we pick one of them... Who's this? Well, that was Japanese. Oh, well, whatever. What are you? Oh, gee, God, no. Let's go with the bloke. But if I do this, and I don't know, let's go to... Let's pick this. Right, I'm in... Oh, for fuck's sake. Why can you never just get a copy of text on a fucking screen? Why has it always got to be, oh, no, let me block that from you so that I can predict it? I want the fucking thing. So let me paste that in. Because that's a reasonable amount of text, right? If I say go, be surprised how little time that takes. Considering it's a reasonable amount of non-English shit, which will probably really upset it. Actually, that's the longest it's ever taken. Yeah, it's the longest I've ever seen it take, but I don't think I've ever given it quite that much to say in one go. Okay. Mine's definitely way faster than that. There you go. 41 seconds. 41 seconds. And if I play it, I know you can't hear it, but... Okay, let me see if I can force this. Hang on. Open volume mix. want Microsoft Edge to go to speakers.
Test typically arises when the assembly definition asset, ASMD, does not meet the required compiler number. Define directives for Unity to compile or reference the assembly. This can happen if the Unity include a test constraint is not met, or if the assembly is not defined for the current platform. To resolve this issue, ensure that the Unity include a test constraint is met and that the assembly is defined.
But that was 41 seconds to convert all of that into fucking shouty sergeant major, right? Believe me, you didn't want to hear the girl one. Let me play you the girl one. So let's give her some text to say, because what does that turn out like in? Oh, that's not the one I wanted. What? Find something for her to read. That'll do. First two sentences of some wine on the website. Hit go. Hit synthesize. Yeah, and I mean, obviously this lady's voice is slightly irritating, but...
So, I'm not exactly new to Unity, but to read a few areas I have not really delved into for various reasons. But for this, I'm focusing on netcode for game objects. I dunno, guys, I feel like it probably can do the job well, but the support, docs, and do learn content is utterly disappointing and emo almost pointless, as it's unintuitive and has no real connection to anything real world related.
I mean, she's a bit fucking angry, but like a lot of it, as you say, that is one of the most, well, yeah, I haven't even touched any of the settings, but I do have, you know, if you get a voice, and this is obviously where a lot of the problems truly stem from, is if you get a voice that sounds, I don't know, like one you'd like. The problem then becomes is that those voices aren't necessarily yours to use. And you know, so like the meme that's going around of that tall lanky bloke who does Vecna as the voice, he really drops his voice, and that sounds really cool. True, but then I sound like a whiny arsehole, and I don't really need that in my game. But somewhere in here, my voice sounds like a suicide hotline caller. I don't need that happening. But somewhere in here, I made some files. Now the question is, where the fuck did I hide them? Did I keep them in here? Outputs. There you go. So these ones I made before. So you probably can't hear. I don't know if you heard that. Did you hear that at all? Fuck. Hang on. Stick that out through the speaker. Right. So you've got to bear in mind, this is going to sound really bad to you, but you have to think of it as I'm me. And of course you're listening to a speaker past a pile of objects to a microphone facing the wrong way. Let me turn the microphone around a bit. Okay.
Good morning. Are you ready for an adventure?
Now, that is not a computer voice. I know he sounds like he's a computer voice. That's actually a dude. that is actually a dude, and I've done I think I did a few things.
Prepare yourself. An adventure awaits. Someone out there needs us, and it's time to answer the call. Let's set out and see who's waiting.
But I'm not going to say. Well, yeah, but I can actually tell you I've got an entire audiobook read by this guy, which is where I sampled it from. And
Side 1. Good Omens. The nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter.
so, you know, I do know whose voice it is. It's really hard to get a copy of that version, though. Now, it is genuine bloke. That is his reading voice. What I really might do is get hold of the Vecna guy for a laugh. Well, and this is the thing. It's a bit like if you listen to women singing from like the 40s and 50s. Yeah, one sings here. You know, kind of thing, right? And they sang like that. They didn't just speak like that. They sang like that. And it just sounds, you know, there'll be blue beds. I can't sing that high. I really can't sing that high at all. I am not a soprano, in case people didn't know that. But you sit there going, if you pick any tune sang back then, it screams almost the far back BBC voice of the era, right? Because they sang like that. And so, as you say, it's got a very 80s sound to it, because, well, when it was. Well, it'll be 90s, but never mind. But yeah, I did a few things with a sample of his voice and came up with it using this. And I think it would make quite a good kind of narratory voice. Because what you really want is the film intro guy, kind of deep, real, kind of gravelly, tonight, you know, on whatever, we see this, you know. We want one of those kind of guys. As a child, now bear in mind undiagnosed autism and all the rest of it, I found thee, thou, there, and thus, and all of that far more intuitive than modern English. Thou shalt not want. Makes perfect sense to me. But as you say, there are things, I mean, if you watch some of the meme videos that are around of, you know, kind of the millennial look and, you know, what they've done to English, or not, as the case may be, you do have some of the, let's call them fleeting fancies of the language. So you will, I'm sure you'll remember Rude Dog and the Dweebs. All right. Some of that shit was just shit. All right. Some of it was, yeah, that kind of stuff, right? And there is a bit of you just kind of going, fucking whatever. But that's not going to last. However, some things do last. And obviously with online presence and all the rest of it, it doesn't take long for it to spread these days. And I think that's part of the difference, is that you know, back in the 80s, you know, one school almost would start using a word so that teach didn't know what they were talking about. And then they'd tell some brothers and sisters and some cousins who'd spread it around their schools, who would take it to their schools. And it would fan out, but it took a while. These days, almost one arsehole on a YouTube video and now everyone does it. And, you know, and then when you say, what the fuck's that? People look at you with like, well, what do you mean you don't know? Where have you been? Do you live under a rock? And you're like, no, but I don't watch every video that comes out real time because there aren't enough hours in the day for that. So if it came up in one video and you've all decided that's a really cool, hip thing to be doing, I missed that memo. Can you just run it by me so I can not look so stupid next time this shit comes up? Oh, it's already over. Okay, fucking whatever, right? There is a lot of that. There is a lot of that out there. But as you say, this system, this index TTS thing, really was, was, whatever way you want to word it, something impressive, to be honest. I'm going to put that into a batch file so that I can't type today. There you go. So next time I should just be able to go run. There you go. That's better. I'm surprised I didn't do that last time. I usually do. Because I'm not going to remember it and I don't want to dig through all the documentation. So I might do an echo, please wait a small eternity, but you know, because that didn't take half as long to start up. But it is, to be honest, quite impressively fast. Now, some of that, judging by the stuff that's on my screen, is because I've got a fast graphics card and a fast computer. But it does make it pretty good for, you know, if you want to add some voiceover shit to your game. Because like you've said, you can go in and you can do some advanced things and, you know, cheer it up and tune it down and, you know, use emotional references, and so you can make it happier, very calm. So we're going to take, hang on, angry woman, and let's just do the first sentence because we don't need to wait 3 lifetimes. Synthesize that and see what she comes out as. Mind you, to be fair, most Japanese people to a British person sounds fairly angry. It's a bit like German, it sounds angry.
So, I'm not exactly new to Unity, but to raise a few areas I have not really delved into for various...
She's still shouty and kind of... bump that up a bit. Let's... who else have we got? What else have we got? We've got... let's pick...
没了。还有我在外面看不是六。
That's a bit fast and exciting.
如果连吃，就是我在这。
Well, try this one because she's a bit more less shouty, fucking angry. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that either. Hang on. Hang on. Let's just fucking use that. That'll do. Get rid of the Unity +1. As you say, it's not quick enough to do it real time, which is slightly disappointing, but it is pretty quick.
Additionally, 简 check that all other defined constraints are satisfied for the assembly
I've
to
hit
compile
sad.
correctly.
That'd be why. I wondered why it was like. I didn't mean to hit sad. I just wanted to hit calm. Yeah, she sounded pretty fucking sad, I have to admit. Did help that it started out with a big sigh.
Additionally, check that all other defined constraints
See,
are
that's the
satisfied
same
for the
girl.
assembly to
And all I've
compile
done is
correctly.
change her from basically going to top herself to, yeah, I don't give a shit. So, you know, you can... But it is... I mean, that voice would drive me to drink after a while. But, you know, I do think that if you can get some decent voice samples... So if you've got some friends who have got reasonable speaking voices, and you can convince them to give you, you know, a short snippet of voice that they don't mind you using, you have got an ability without, you know, hey Brian, can you come over for 3 days and recite the following lines for me? No, I need that one to be a bit more excited. No, I need you to sound more fucked off than that. No, can you be sad because you've just broken your sword or whatever, right? You don't need to do any of that. If you can just get them to sort of go, hello, my name is Brian, that's pretty much all you need. And then you bring it back and you plug it in. And I think if you can, you know, it gives you the chance then to adjust your narratives and any kind of, you know, words that you want spoken in your game. Because one of the things that I certainly don't have in my game at the moment, or in any of my games, are verbal instructions. I've only got wordy instructions. And as part of the roguelike one, that really is exceptionally nothingy. It's using addressables, so it is really, really lightning fast on the website. But you pick male or female, and then you can walk about, and this is about it at the moment, but you can walk about, and you can have a weapon, and you can kind of... It's interesting that that's stuck then, but there we go. And there are some trees which you'll be able to get fruit from, and some other trees, and that's the edge of the screen, I know that, but it's, you know, you can walk around the trees, but not into the tree, if you see what I mean, not through the tree. So yeah, but I want some narrative to this. I want a bit of narrative behind my thing, because, well, I do. But at the same time, I don't want too much yappy on it, because it's not a story, right? Whereas my other game is more of a story. There is much more story to it. This one is go kill shit. That's kind of your mission. But you will have, the idea is, you will have the ability to change weapons. That's definitely a bug in that. I need to fix that. Because if you go diagonally, well, that's fine. But when you only go that way, it's supposed to notice. Clearly it's not. But the idea will be is that you can make some armour and some weapons and get some rest and some food, and, you know, so this is kind of camp. And it's not perfect because not all of the art is from the same place, so that tent looks a little bit weird, but it's alright. But it's not quite the same as the others, but it's close enough for now. Same as the fire. The actual fire bit looks fine. It's the logs underneath it that look a little bit weird. They're a bit thinly lined, but that's because I can't draw and I got AI to do it for me. But it is, you know, I do have plans. And for EP, you don't need to buy any more shit, I know this, but this one, you can, it comes with an inventory system, and you can no, and that is part of it, to be honest, isn't it? It is the, if nothing else, it will do until I can do better, right? It doesn't stand out going, I'm shit, but you do have this. So, for example, you can make potions and you can change the colour. Yeah. But, for example, you can change the, you can make swords and you can have different handles and different blades and add some scratches and some shit and, you know, stuff, and change it all around, and, you know. Yeah. And to be honest, this is one of the things I think we as game devs do get stuck on, is that I remember watching this guy called Super Bits and Bobs on YouTube, and he's a great guy. I love him to pieces. But he was playing this game, and it was a remake of something. I don't know what it was, but it was basically some shit where you go around a city and basically be a knob to everybody, or not, as the case may be. But you can go around being a knob, and you go around killing people, usual kind of game, right? And he was going, wow, look at this, wow, look at that, because they'd redone it and so it had better graphics. And it was kind of like, some poor asshole like you and me spent hours working on making sure all the reflections and the UV lighting in the bar and the tiny details. Most people don't even look at it. Most people, unless it looks terrible, if you said to them what was in the bar, they probably couldn't even tell you they'd been in a bar, right? And this is one of the things that I think we all get hung up on. As game developers, we all want it to look, you know, photorealistic, with amazing graphics, with perfect this and perfect that. Unless it's kind of, you know, a bloke walking along with his arm bent backwards or you know, and bends the knee forward or something, right? Unless the animation is really janky, unless the, you know, he's got bright pink pants on because it's not loaded a texture, or, you know, most of the time, most people won't notice. I mean, when I show a lot of my crafting pictures to people, well, one of the things that, you know, for example, one of my pet hates, let's pull up this, hang on. I know you can't hear it. Right, so this is Path of Exile, right? Here is my character. And on this screen, he looks phenomenal. Not going to deny that. This is the view of him normally. I see the back of him. So, one thing I do like about Path of Exile is, unlike many games, you can't spend 3 hours, you know, changing the shape of his goatee and the colour of his groin and, you know, the length of his clanger and you know, all of that kind of crap, right? You get a pre-made character, like it or lump it. All mercenaries have the same face. But the truth of the matter is when he's this big, and by the time they've got a helmet on and all the other things, so I'm talking mainly of people like Diablo 4 here, where you can have tattoos and you change the colour of the eyes and you can almost like put highlights in their hair. And Yeah, it's all Under Armour, douche, and it's like 15 pixels high on my screen. Really? It could be a fucking stick man at this point. To be honest, from behind, you can't even... I mean, that could be a girl, to be frank. Yeah. Well, books usually are better than the movies. But, you know, if you watch this, I mean, you know, where was I? Does it say? Was I anywhere in particular? Can't remember. But if I get back into Clearfell, for example, and we run around killing things, right? Bear in mind I suck. But it's, and I am over leveled for this area, but yeah, and you can do stuff in your mind that is not humanly possible in reality, right? But with all of this going on, right? You don't really see much of him. You can see that he's wielding a crossbow. Well, they've got a shit ton of crossbow models. Why? When you're running around shooting shit and your screen's full of flashing lights, I can't even see my toon, let alone, you know, work out what he's holding or not. Shoot the damn dog. There you go. Yeah. But like this, you can't really... I mean, if while I'm running around, you can't really see his crossbow. You can't really see what he's wearing. It could be a girl for all that mattered. You know... Well, and look at the hair from behind. That could be a girl. You know, you only know it's a man because you saw the starting screen. From that angle, that could be a girl. I mean, you know, all due respect to every gender, it's not really that gender specific. It is a bloke, because I can tell you that the bloke sounds blokish, but an awful lot of this, I mean, it's wiggling its arse enough to be a woman. I'm pointing over there, you stupid phone. I am shit at playing the games, by the way. For a person who enjoys trying to make them, I say trying because, let's face it, I'm hardly exactly successful. But, you know, like a lot of this, I point and click, and so I move my mouse pointer and click it somewhere, and it doesn't fire where I'm aiming. Because, you know, I can move my mouse and it still doesn't pick up. It picks up later. It's like 3 hits later before it's noticed where I was actually pointing it. I so suck at this game. The one thing I have found with Path of Exile that is my main problem with it is that it is too easy to interrupt yourself by trying to make another move before the move you were trying to do first do. So if you constantly spam something, it doesn't always actually do it because it stops you to start again. So all you really do is stand there like a blithering idiot and die. I'm real frigging good at that. I've got that one so down pat. I'm a master at that. Let's go kill this stupid old bat. is always good for nothing. Yeah, but this is quite good. It's a good set of assets that allow you to draw kind of 2D things, and you get to make your own weapons. There doesn't seem to be quite so much in terms of armour. But I do quite like it. It's got an awful lot of options built in. So you can make lots of things and then call them up in game and work on it, which is quite nice. And then I want to pair it with some of this kind of text-to-speak stuff, because then I can have, you know, a bit of a dialogue thing, and then it, like you've said, is you can kind of shove it through a language generator and have it say actual things in another language for other people, should you feel so inclined. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. But yeah, this has got this game has got way more story, way more story in it. There's quite a lot of backstory that, well, I haven't done shit with yet, but there is a lot of backstory in this game. Like, why are you here? Because you wake up in this corner in a room that looks rather dark. And, well, yeah. But I'm glad I've solved my light issue. And it actually works quite well in Web 2, which is a good thing. But this is my problem, is that I kind of want to do things, but like we said, you know, you go to do the merest tiniest thing, such as making a test case, and it becomes an all-day uphill struggle to almost get it to agree to even think about it, and then it doesn't work, and you're sitting there going, I don't know why not. And the answer is because it didn't want to. And I'm definitely suffering from a bit of that. And I think that's what puts me off an awful lot of things, is that my brain goes, well, if that's this and this is the other, then this must be true. And it goes, sort of, except no. And my brain just kind of goes, oh, fine, fuck it then. And goes back to sleep. And it's almost like I'll just move that. But if you move that, you've got to move this, or this will fall over. Or the days that I've been having recently is that you could put, you know, the best described, you think of those old banquet tables they had back in, you know, medieval days kind of thing, but not quite medieval, kind of Henry VIII days, where you had, like, you know, 30-foot long tables that were kind of like 12 feet wide. I swear I could put, you know, a matchbox in the middle, a little matchbox, not one of those big kitchen ones, just a normal little matchbox, and somehow it would leap off onto the floor. Everything I touch, flat shit on flat shit, falls off and leaps on the floor, rolls away. And it is proving a little bit much for the few. Like I said, I've only got a few annoyances quota at the moment. I'm a bit low on quota, and well, it's kind of used up before I even start, really. So I am very much struggling with that. So on a similar note to that, my brain has kind of gone off the boil of making lace, although I have enjoyed talking about the gamey bit and stuff with EP, because I really do enjoy talking with EP about this kind of stuff. That's how we met, after all. But yeah, I want to do a lot of things, but because every time I go to do it, it's like someone bitch slaps me in the face. It is proving very hard to. I want to do it, but I don't want to do it, because I don't, but I do. I want to see it done, but I don't want to do it, and that is the best description I can give, is that I want to see it done. I want to see what happens if I don't want to be doing it. I don't want to be the one that actually has to hit. Yes, let's do that, because it doesn't usually work. and then I feel miserable because it didn't work. I do need to find these. I don't know what I've done with my other ones of these. I've got 7 out of the 8. I need to find where the other one has gone. And it serves me right for not hanging them off the back of my thing, to be honest. It's around somewhere. It won't have gone. It will be somewhere. But it's not here. And that's kind of what's put me off, is knowing that this is imminent and I really could use all 8 of those, which is why I got them. And I know I made some without, don't get me wrong, I know that, but it is a lot easier with. So I'm at work tomorrow. I have looked at the ticket queue, because I can look from my home PC. Don't actually need to log into work to do that because they outsource that, so it's actually available from fucking everywhere. I'm going to do it on my phone and all the rest of it, without breaking any company rules and policies. So, had a quick look. It's going to be a tough one tomorrow. But, do remember, there are 9 working days till Christmas for me. I have 9 working days left. Now, those days will take forever, as any working day does when you're counting down to holiday. Even though I only have to do 4 days this week, 5 next, done. Right? Because tomorrow's December. Tomorrow will be 1 year I have been in this role in this company doing this thing. Which is quite scary, actually. But why does I've got a mic on a twiddle, right? And it only locks up at certain points. And I can't get it to be tight, but face this way. It's always loose. And there doesn't seem to be an easy way to... Because it's not this that needs tightening, because that's the back and forth. I need to somehow undo this again. I don't know. I need something with a bit of gump. It's not got enough gump. This might have enough gump after all. It's a pair of pliers. Right. I can kind of turn it round more, and so it locks up facing forward. But I actually do. But you see, the moment I turn it around slightly that way, it goes all loose again, and I don't want it to be loose. I just want it to. I want it to stay fairly solid, because otherwise it just wobbles and drives me nuts. Whatever. Anyway, thank you for joining me for Utter Chaos. It has been a varied day. Not a lot of lace happened. Lots of chat happened, and thank you, EP. You've cheered me up a bit. You've reminded me of some things. You've listened to my witterings. So EP, you are as always my friend. So yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna battle some tests some more. I think that, and watch some shitty films, eat some food because I've got stew to make, and I'm looking forward to stew. Got some stew to make, and generally just gonna try to chill a bit, upload my video. My upload program is doing really well. It now uploads my videos so much faster than just doing it through the website did. So really pleased with that. Did a good job with that. I'm pleased. It's always good when, you know, so for example, a 90-minute video I think took 40 minutes to upload last night, which normally takes about an hour. So I know it's only 20 minutes, but it's still 20 minutes less. The only thing I can't seem to do is get it to auto kind of publish. Not auto publish on YouTube, auto publish it to various feeds, because, for example, if I do it from my PC, I don't get the option. If I go to Facebook and say, hey, there's a new video on YouTube, it only posts it to Facebook. If I do it on my phone, it will publish it to Threads and to Instagram, and it will fucking spread it around. So it's a real shame. And I did look at applications that claim they could cross-post for you. No, those freaking prices, I'm not made of money, especially as I'm not in it for the money. So buggered if I'm spending that much money on being able to auto post shit. So hence I do forget to post things. But once I've uploaded this video, I will post that there are a couple more videos to go. So yeah, if you need to catch up, they're all on YouTube. God, how rest my soul. All of the mopey bits, all of the bits of me losing my marbles, it's all there for all to see. Don't expect you to watch it, so, you know, I'm not too surprised that that's not exactly, you know, brimming with followers, because, well, it's probably painful to watch, actually. Anyway, on that note, it is time to go and cook some stew. I hope you have a good rest of Sunday, and I shall try and see you during the week, but tomorrow sounds unlikely. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.